We find ourselves at a crossroads. Kid Rock, Dana White, they've both come out in major support of Bud Light. That's right. Kid Rock, who basically kicked off the Bud Light boycott after they sponsored Dylan Mulvaney to the tune of, I believe it was $180,000 reportedly. Kid Rock is now supporting Bud Light after the boycott, saying, when you step back and look at it like, yeah, they deserved a black guy and they got one. They made a mistake. He said after boycotting the company for working with Dylan Mulvaney. We now have the story coming out from Tucker Carlson. We have this one. Dana White doubles down on his $105 million a year deal with Bud Light, insisting he don't give a ish about criticisms over the brand use. He says this brand is more aligned with you than you realize, and they're better than other beer brands. You gotta buy cases and cases of Bud Light. And I agree. But I do know that many of you disagree. And so we find ourselves at a crossroads. Do we lament Kid Rock and Dana White in their support for Bud Light? I mean, Kid Rock coming out and saying this, he's effectively ending the boycott, at least as it pertains to him, not to you. And my position, we talked about this in great deal yesterday, is that we should take a PR victory, declare victory, and that's it. We won. But there are many people who are calling for the destruction of Bud Light as a brand. They say never again. Others say, I will drink a Bud Light, but only when they apologize. Now, my argument, I would say, is substantially more tactful and less emotionally satisfying. But I agree with Kid Rock and I agree with Dana White. But more importantly, I agree with Sean Strickland. The big move came when Dana White accepted a massive sponsorship deal from Bud Light to the tune of $105 million. Many of us were very upset about this. We said, why are you accepting money from this company that got woke, went broke, and continues to sponsor Pride events? Well, of course, Dana White said, we're going to take the money. It's the best deal ever, blah, blah, blah. Sean Strickland, MMA champion, said, Bud Light is now sponsoring everything I say. And then he went off to say a whole bunch of anti-woke things. And I like it. I think he's right. At first, I thought he was wrong. I thought these people were all selling out. But then I listened to what Sean had to say, and I realized he flipped the script. He inverted the narrative on Bud Light, and Bud Light has not condemned him. And that is, my friends, a tremendous victory. We're now seeing liberal activists outright say nobody should be boycotting Bud Light. This is silly and just stop. We've won. The battlefield is ours. The enemy has laid down their culture war arms and said, please, please, no more. But I come to you with a warning, and I'll give you my argument. And I ask that you hear it out and also comment as to what you think. Now, unfortunately for YouTube, most people comment in the first minute or so and don't hear the full video before commenting, which is really, really funny. And then you can see how the comments are skewed. You can do this thing where, you'll notice someone will say something in the beginning of a video, but then provide context 10 minutes later, but no one in the comments sees it. I believe strategically, the only move we have right now is to declare victory. And I'll tell you why. Because by next May, Bud Light sales will have normalized to 0%, and the media will claim anything they've done saved the company. We must own the narrative in this regard and take the victory now. Basically, know when to cash out your chips, because if you try and stick around, you may end up losing. Now, let me break this down. First, I'll show you what Kid Rock is saying and what Dana White is saying, and then I'll tell you my view on where we go over the next half year, before this war finally comes to its culmination. I should say this battle. But I also do want to point out that for those that just will never get on board with Bud Light, hey, man, you got this story. Woke-free beer company Ultra Right is launching a Real Women of America calendar with the most beautiful conservative women in America. So shout out to Seth Weathers. He's coming on the show this week. And there are alternatives. Before we get started, my friends, head over to thebestsongever.com and pre-order on Amazon. The song is 69 cents. And when you buy this song, you are effectively helping us give a big FU to the media establishment, to the woke industrial complex, to the music industry. I'll give you the simple version. Together Again is the best song ever written. It was written by Smokey Mike and the God King of the Daily Wire. That's Jeremy Boring and Michael Knowles. I don't know who gets the writing credit. I assume it's Jeremy Boring. Or maybe both of them. I don't want to discredit Michael Knowles. They wrote a song which was basically a middle finger to the music industry who denied them. Jeremy tried offering up, what was it? 100 times the going rate. 100 times the going rate to get access to a mainstream song. And they were like, we're not going to do it. They basically shut out the Daily Wire from engaging in typical industry behaviors. Why? Because they are captured. So Jeremy Boring and Michael Knowles made a joke mocking them and spent all this money, $150,000, basically saying, F you. And I said, I want to get in on that because I've also experienced this from the entertainment industry where they're saying, screw you, and told us to go F ourselves. Quite literally. We were told to go F ourselves because we made music. So this song is our big F you to them, working with the Daily Wire. Jeremy Boring and Michael Knowles cameo in the video. Pre-order the song to support our work at thebestsongever.com. But let's talk about where we are with Bud Light. Dana White doubles down on UFC's $105 million a year deal with Bud Light, insisting he doesn't give an ish about criticisms over the brand. He gave an interview with Tucker Carlson, and it was actually quite simple. He just said outright over and over again, buy the beer, buy the beer, buy the beer. Sure. Now, a lot of people got mad. And this presents some very interesting conundrums for all of us that want to engage in a boycott of Bud Light. Should we continue in opposition to Dana White, UFC, and Kid Rock? And I'll explain. But first, let me jump over to the story about Kid Rock. Billboard reports Kid Rock has decided to support Bud Light again, 8 months after his transphobic response to Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light, etc. I read his quote already. He said, hopefully other companies get it too. But at the end of the day, I don't think the punishment that they've been getting at this point fits the crime. I would like to see us back on board and become bigger because that's the America that I want to live in. There's nothing wrong with giving a spanking. You don't spank them for the rest of their life. I completely agree with Kid Rock. This is what I see. People are saying Bud Light sponsored Dylan Mulvaney one time and therefore will never buy their product again. And there is no reconciliation. My argument is, they gave $180,000 to Dylan Mulvaney. That's what's been reported. They gave $105 million to UFC. Okay. And that means people like Sean Strickland, Conor McGregor, many other very based AF individuals, and Dana White himself are getting funded to push their cultural values. UFC is something that is great. I love UFC. I love the competition. I love the fierceness of it. And it is so obvious as to why UFC fighters are based AF, because they are strong individuals who have pushed themselves to the limit, have taken a beating, and they don't fear anything. So they'll go out on Twitter and laugh and say, I can say whatever I want. And Dana White's not canning them for having said it. Sean Strickland didn't get condemned, didn't get canceled, didn't get banned when he said all of these things about woke stuff. I can't even say it on YouTube what he said. And he posted on X. So I see this as like a bravo. Think about what this means in terms of the culture war. Normally, you had people terrified. Look at Snow White. Disney was going to make Snow White and they were going to get rid of the dwarves because Peter Dinklage complained. The Daily Wire said, we're making our own version, and they backed down. All of a sudden now they're canning the film. They're redoing everything. We are winning this. The pressure is winning this. Now, if you refuse to accept victory and you decide instead the only option is the raising of Bud Light, I'll tell you where we go. The end result is going to be you have Bud Light right now seeing a 30% drop in sales. That's stabilized. If you actually, let me see if I can pull this up. I think I have a chart showing this. So this is Bud Light sales plunge from April 8th, the start of the boycott, to June 24th, the peak of the boycott. The way the sales tracking works is they're saying June 24th today versus June 24th last year. They are not tracking sales day over day, week over week, or month over month. If they were, this would be insane and Bud Light would be out of business today. You can't lose 30% of your sales every month and survive because that would mean no one's buying their beer ever. No. What happened is you, my friends, the boycotters, were 30% of the sales of Bud Light. If they were selling, I'm going to give you a figurative number here. If Bud Light was selling 100 beer units per month in April, They went from 100 to June to 70. 30 beer units per month, gone. Since then, every month, they've been selling 70 beer units. You get my point? The reason why I bring this up is that even after I explained this on Timcast IRL last night, I still had people commenting, not understanding. And I know most of you probably do, but I figured this is worth breaking down because it's important. We want to win. When April 8th comes around, so we're not even talking 5 months. We're talking just about 5 months. Okay, but 4 months into the year. When they wrap around, Bud Light sales are going to jump up. That's right. Because if 100 is a figurative number, just to give you the percentage. If they sold 100 beers and then you boycotted and now they're only selling 70, once they come back to April, it's that percentage where it says minus 30% year over year is going to go to zero because April's sales of 2023 will match April sales of 2022. The media will then report Bud Light has recovered. If you are maintaining a boycott and refuse, the narrative will be boycott fails. Sales normalize, sales jump back up, and then if they sell 71 beer units, Bud Light will say the boycott only lasted about 1 year before everyone gave up and got back on board. Now, there's something else you can do. Embrace Dana White, Kid Rock, and the others who have now gotten on board with Bud Light. Why? Because now the narrative is this. Sean Strickland, UFC fighters have made numerous political statements for which Bud Light has paid for. If you start buying before April, then let Bud Light say the boycott has ended and sales are recovering early. That would be great. Why? Because then you say they sponsored UFC, they sponsored anti-woke politics from athletes, individuals who are not only opposing to wokeness, but also political themselves. And when Bud Light did that, they bounced back. Do not let them take the narrative. Because I got to tell you, the inverse, if you want to maintain this boycott, which I don't think we can sustain, I don't think we can maintain a narrative victory here. You have to understand, you'd have to boycott UFC. You'd have to boycott Dana White, or I should say call out Dana White and call out Sean Strickland. And I think Sean's great. I think he's fantastic. He made an excellent point. Now, a lot of people said, Tim's flip-flopping. Flip-flopping? Dude, spare me your political mumbo-jumbo. When Sean Strickland came out and said, I'm going to rehabilitate Bud Light, I groaned. And we were all like, no, what are you doing? Then he made an argument and we went, oh, it's called listening, learning, and adapting. Flip-flopping. Spare me the nonsense. What I don't want to see is people sitting here being like, we're going to burn Bud Light to the ground and destroy them. They're not going anywhere. Their sales may be down, but they are sustaining right now. And if this wraps around to April, they will claim you failed. Take the PR victory lap right now. That's what Kid Rock and Dana White are doing. They're running around saying, we won, everybody. It's over. We won. Bud Light just gave us money. Dylan Mulvaney gets 100K. We get 100 million. We win. Rub it in their faces. Say we win. Say it over and over and over again. Send a message to every corporation. You will be rich beyond your wildest dreams if you support our cultural values. It is not just the stick. It is the stick and the carrot. So here's my view. We can go back several years to a story I like to tell. A story about a man named Joey Salads. You guys know Joey. He's mostly not been doing political stuff, but back in the day, he filmed a video where he's like, we're going to leave this car in this neighborhood with Trump stickers and stuff and see what happens. The next clip is a bunch of black guys smashing the car. Well, someone secretly recorded him. And what did they find? He staged the whole thing. He was accused of being racist, and it destroyed his career. I went to Sweden, and Joey tweets at me that we should meet up. And I'm like, dude, no way, dude. We all know what you did. And then I realized something really quickly because people reached out and tried talking to me about Joey. And I realized something. Joey has a lot of fans. And they trust him and they want to see redemption for him. And if I decide that he's my enemy no matter what, then these people are just going to say, you're unforgiving and we don't like you. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I reach these people that follow Joey no matter what? I got to talk to Joey. I've got to actually reach out and make an argument. I can't just be knee-jerk reaction angry. And then I realized something even deeper. If Joey came out after this grand mistake, begging for forgiveness, knowing he made a mistake, if we say no, as many YouTubers did, guess what? There's only one direction he can go, deeper in the wrong direction. Because no one will just give up and stop and accept the end of themselves. They'll find a way to survive. And if Joey was told, you will never be allowed in polite society, then he'd go to impolite society. No, hold on. He's an influential guy. He's talented. He's smart. We want him on our side. Joey, I accept your apology. I went and interviewed him and said, you know what? I accept your apology. Please don't do bad things in the future. Do good things. And he said, I will. And what did he do? He started doing comedy bits, funny bits. He got away from the politics, and that's where he's been. And I think that's the appropriate move. I don't want Bud Light to double down and go woke. And this is what I think people don't get. They say, why would Bud Light double down on wokeness if the boycott hurt them? Simple. That 30% loss in sales is not coming back. Y'all are not buying Bud Light. So you know what Bud Light's thinking now? The market executives are meeting. And look, by all means, you can believe whatever you want to believe. You don't have to agree with me on this one, but I will tell you this from my perspective, which is someone who owns a business and has done marketing for a very, very long time for nonprofits, for various media organizations, and now for my own company. They're looking at market share, and they're saying our market is comprised of, let me simplify it for you, 30% conservative and libertarian, 30% liberal Democrat, and 40% don't know, don't care. The liberals and the don't know, don't care are still buying our product. The conservatives have stopped. What do? Their first option, let's try and sponsor Harley Davidson. Didn't work. Their next option, let's try and sponsor UFC. We want these customers back. Well, Kid Rock and Dana White say yes. But if you say no, I'll tell you where the next step is going to be. The marketing guys say Bud Light is no longer the top beer. Modelo, owned by Constellation Brands in the United States, has taken over. It's not owned by AB InBev. Internationally, it is. We will never recover this market. Stop spending money on it. That's where they go. Let me tell you what happens next. Bud Light spent $100 million in marketing. That went to the UFC. They've spent it elsewhere too, desperately trying to win you over, knowing that the $100,000, $180,000 campaign, it's been reported, I don't know if it's true, cost them billions. And now an additional $100 million. They're suffering over it. You can't just use the stick. You got to offer a carrot. If all you ever do is whack your dog with a stick, their behavior is not going to improve. When you're training a dog, you need to give them treats. You need to say, bad thing means pain, good thing means treats. Bud Light is only being told right now, we don't care, you've done bad, and we don't want you. If this is the case, the marketing executives are going to meet with Bud Light and say, there's no possible campaign we could launch to recover sales from conservatives. So how do we increase sales in general? Well, if conservatives are a lost cause, what can we do to target the left and maybe get more beer sales among other groups? The last thing we want is for AB InBev, Bud Light, to take that $100 million they gave to UFC and give it to universities or give it to pride events. But that's what you will do if you force their hand. You are not going to put them out of business. A lot of people seem to think they will. And I'm just like, man, do you. Good luck. You know, there are other options. There are other beer companies. You don't got to drink Bud Light. My concern is Bud Light just put $100 million into UFC in the most desperate play they could imagine. $105 million per year into UFC. Almost every UFC fighter is some base AF dude. Dana White is Donald Trump is coming out with Kid Rock and everyone's screaming and cheering. In New York City, man, you gotta hear me out on this one, man. At Madison Square Garden, in the liberal Democrat stronghold of New York City, Donald Trump and Kid Rock and Dana White walk out and everyone goes, "Rah!" screaming at the top of their lungs. And Bud Light paid for the whole thing. Come on, man. If you're mad that Bud Light sponsored Dylan Mulvaney in these Pride events, okay. But why are you not happy that they sponsored UFC and Donald Trump and that appearance he did in New York City? New York City, Trump walks out, everyone's screaming and cheering. We should be playing that video 24/7. We should be playing that video while drinking Bud Light and pointing a finger at all the woke activists and saying, remember when they gave up on you? Remember when Bud Light said Trump was better? Remember when Bud Light sponsored UFC and Kid Rock and Trump came out and everyone's cheering? That's us. We win. The money's ours. Victory is our side. That's the narrative we want, and we can take it. It is in your hand right now. You need only close your fist. That's why it's so frustrating to me that people are like, no, I boycott them forever. And I'm like, I watched Donald Trump and Kid Rock and Dana White walk out in Madison Square Garden in New York City, to everybody screaming and cheering, and they're smiling. And Bud Light paid for that. Yo, narrative victory here. People want the message to be, if you get woke, we will destroy you and there's no recovery. Ruling by fear. And that's a component of it. But you also, as I mentioned, need the carrot as well. I want, so let me talk about the cultural stuff we're doing. We have the bestsongever.com. We have Boonies HQ launching in production as the facility is being built. We're putting millions into the largest skateboard facility. Why? Because wokeness is trying to take over skateboarding. I won't have none of it. I want there to be, there's some 15-year-old kid. He skateboards. Right now, what does he see in the industry? Woke, 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 woke. Now, I can do one of two things. I can say, industry's gone woke. They got dudes in dresses who aren't even doing tricks getting paid money, and that's what kids are being told to like. I give up. I'm out. I boycott this. I don't want to be involved anymore. I did think that for a while. And then I was like, no. No, I'm going to double down. I'm going to take it over. Why? I want this kid to look at the posts online, look at our culture and say the path to success, fame, fortune, and recognition is with us and not with them. Now let's think about in the context of these big companies. You say to Bud Light, you will never, never be forgiven. Other new fledgling companies growing will say, don't bother with conservatives. They won't buy your product anyway. No. The narrative needs to be, guys, if you put American flags on your products, you will sell more. That's how it used to be. I want every company, every marketing agency that doesn't care about politics. I want to hear that marketing VP sit down and say, ladies and gentlemen, conservatives will buy anything if you support America. So these toothbrushes, American flag toothbrushes. Okay. Yeah. You put an American flag on it, I'll buy it. Then every single company, Clorox bleach, American flag edition, bought. Make them jam pro-America messaging in every product they do because we buy it. And then they're going to say, don't bother with the woke people. They boycott everything. The conservatives buy everything if you give it to them. That's the mission in my mind. That's what I see. I think the point of the cultural endeavors that we engage in is because we want young people to think the path to success, to fame, to fortune is with us, is on our side. And the path to fear and pain is on their side. But if you never, never forgive, if you never give an opportunity for that sweet treat reward, then we will only represent the side of pain and suffering. Now, again, it's not all bad because there will be companies who will say, don't get political. You'll lose money. The issue is it's not the strongest path forward. And it may result in them saying, well, if we already lost that base, then go for the other side. You don't want to create a scenario where you can push someone left. You want to create a scenario where you welcome them right. So I give you this. The meme. It shows people that are blue on the left and people that are red on the right. And there's a guy in the middle. And he says, I guess both sides are making interesting points. The Democrats shove him in anger. He falls to the right where he's caught by guys who are red. And they say, hey, man, are you okay? And then the leftists go, why are you siding with them? You see the point? The point was we all recognize that the far left got so woke and insane, they pushed people like me, liberals, former liberals, etc., into the hands of Donald Trump and the conservatives. And when we were shoved, guess who was standing there cracking open a beer, handing it to us saying, I'm sorry they did this to you. It was Trump supporters. They say, hey, I've been there myself, man. So when people like Elon, he's a liberal, moderate kind of guy, and the left goes super far left and starts attacking him, what happens? People on the right shake his hand and say, we may not agree, but we're not going to do to you what they did to you. That is the carrot moment. We want to represent that if the left beats you down, we pick you up. We'll be here for you. When you, Bud Light, went to the left, we got mad. But guess what? We are not going to do what the left does and excise you permanently. We're going to be the reasonable and pragmatic individuals who say, now you understand why we were mad. Thank you for doing the right thing. Otherwise, what do? Burn it all down? It is what it is, my friends. We'll see where this goes. But comment. Let me know what you think. You don't have to agree with me. I gave you my argument. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.